Thomas stood at the edge of the icy cliff, watching the swirling snow. His feathers fluffed against the cold, and his heart thudded with excitement. He had never seen the sea so wild. Behind him, the penguin colony gathered, but he was too curious to stay. Then it happened, a crack thundered through the ice beneath him. He slipped, slid, and tumbled onto a floating chunk that broke off and drifted away. The ice raft drifted quickly, spinning in the freezing current. Thomas scrambled to the center, trying to stay steady as waves rocked him. He chirped loudly, hoping someone would hear, but the wind carried his voice away. The colony grew smaller in the distance. He was alone. The adventure he'd always dreamed of had found him, whether he wanted it or not. The cold was sharp and biting. Thomas tucked his beak into his feathers to stay warm. As night fell, the sky turned purple and silver, and stars blinked down like frozen lanterns. He thought of his family, warm in their huddle. His belly rumbled, but he stayed brave. Tomorrow, he whispered, I'll find land. I have to. When the sun rose, it brought no warmth, but it brought hope. In the distance, he saw icebergs, giant, white castles drifting through the sea. He paddled the raft toward them using his wings and belly, sliding and pushing against the ice. Every muscle ached, but he pushed forward. Days passed. He slept under the stars and ate tiny fish he caught near the ice. He learned to watch the shadows under the sea for danger. Once, he saw a dark fin circling far below. He held still, silent, heart racing. It passed. Thomas learned that the sea could be kind, but it could also be cruel. A snowstorm hit suddenly, blotting out the sky. Thomas huddled low, shielding himself from the sharp flakes. His raft spun wildly, crashing into a larger iceberg. Thomas leaped and scrambled to the top, sliding as he climbed. There, he waited, watching the storm swirl. When it cleared, he saw land. Real land. The iceberg drifted close enough for Thomas to slide into the water. The cold bit into his feathers like claws, but he swam strong. His feet kicked hard, his wings slicing the sea. When he reached shore, he collapsed onto the pebbled beach, chest heaving. Head made it. But where was he? The land was strange. Rocks jutted up like broken teeth, and tall ice towers gleamed under a bright sun. Thomas waddled through the frozen terrain, searching for shelter. He found a shallow cave and curled inside. It wasn't home, but it was safe. That night, he dreamed of songs his parents sang, warm and close. In the morning, Thomas explored. He slid across ice patches and climbed low ridges. He met no one. The silence pressed in, heavy and endless. He began calling out. Chirps and warbles. Nothing answered. Still, he didn't stop. Someone, somewhere, had to be out there. On the third day, he found feathers. Not his. Small and gray, half buried in snow. He followed the trail, heart thudding. They led to a slope, and at the top, nothing. The wind had covered the tracks. He stood there, unsure, but then spotted fish bones beside a rock. Someone had eaten here recently. He kept moving. He learned to slide down slopes on his belly, saving energy. He dove into icy water to hunt. catching fish with more skill each day. He grew stronger, braver. Each night, he slept with his head tucked in, listening to the wind, whispering hope into the darkness. Weeks passed. Tomas was no longer a fluffy chick. He had become sleek, powerful, silent when he needed to be. But inside, he still missed the sound of other voices. He began to sing soft songs from his colony, melodies from memory. He sang to the stars, to the wind, to the sea. One morning, a voice answered, a real one, far away, but sharp. He chirped again. A reply. He ran, sliding and hopping, toward the sound. On the other side of a ridge stood another penguin. Older, eyes wide with surprise. They stared, then chirped together, laughing in the only way penguins can. The stranger was from a distant colony, also lost while exploring. They didn't speak the same songs, but they understood enough. Together, they shared warmth, food, and stories. Tomas wasn't alone anymore. The ice didn't seem as cold with someone beside him. The two penguins built a small shelter with driftwood and snow. They hunted together and played in the waves. Tomas learned new ways to survive and to smile. He taught the stranger his songs, and they made new ones too. Their laughter echoed off the cliffs. Then, one clear morning, Tomas saw something on the horizon. A line of black dots moving across the ice. His heart leaped. He climbed the tallest rock and chirped his loudest call. The dots stopped. Then, calls echoed back. His colony. His family. He ran, slipping and sliding, the stranger following behind. As they reached the edge of the ridge, Tomas' parents came into view. They rushed to him, chirping wildly, touching beaks and nuzzling. Tears didn't fall in the cold, but they filled every heart there. Tomas introduced his new friend, and the colony welcomed him too. That night, they all huddled close, telling stories of their time apart. Tomas realized that though he had been lost, he had also found something: strength, friendship, and a bigger world than he'd ever imagined. In the days that followed, Tomas helped guide others through the ice. He showed young chicks how to slide, how to listen for cracks, how to follow the stars. He had changed. Not just older, but wiser, braver. He often sat at the cliff where it all began, staring out at the sea. The ice no longer scared him. It sang to him. It had carried him far, then brought him home. And he loved it for that. Tomas kept the raft, a piece of it, near the edge, where it reminded him of the journey. He told stories to anyone who'd listen. And they always did. And when he looked at the sky, he didn't just see stars. He saw a path, a promise, and a story written in light and cold and courage. Because sometimes, you don't find your way home by standing still. You find it by floating, paddling, slipping, and never giving up. Tomas had drifted far, but he had found his way. And now, he was ready for whatever the ice brought next.